Good morning everyone, welcome to Stoke Newington in London. So today I was planning to make like just a day vlog in London, but something interesting's come up. So last night Canon invited me to this event to go and check out the EOS R. So I was like, this is a great way to add more to the video. So yeah, this morning we were at a studio. It kind of felt familiar, and as soon as we sat down, they were like, welcome to the studio where Dragon's Den's filmed. So yeah, we're going to check out the EOS R, all the different lenses that they're launching with, and I'm sure by now you've probably seen plenty of reviews and videos about it. So there's a lot of buzz and a lot of noise about this. This has been a long time since I shot video on a Canon, but of course that's one thing that I am testing and looking to understand. Here it is, sports fans. This is my first time holding the EOS R. Feels good. Feels nice. It's kind of how I expected it to feel. I must admit I was maybe expecting it to feel a little bit more like a 700D or something, but I can confirm it does feel slightly more solid. I think it's like an anodized coating. It's not quite plasticky, but it's also not quite as metallic as other brands such as Fuji or the Sony cameras that I'm used to. This is the 24-105 lens, the f4. So of course I'm interested to see how this lens performs for video, but we are going to be going upstairs, and I think upstairs is like a testing environment for photography. I've been told it's kind of dark, so to get familiar with the camera down here whilst I can see it, and yeah, we're going to test things out. So f4 in the darkness, I'm not sure how that's going to perform, but obviously this is a way to test it and find out. Right, I'm going to play with this for a moment and I'll come back to you. Alright, it is very dark up here. Incredibly dark. So I've had a somewhat decent play around with this this morning. Yeah, so this isn't going to be anything in depth as such. This is kind of like a first look, first hands on, because I think to really review a camera and to test it, you need to be using it in your own line of work and kind of doing what you do best with it, really, and to get an understanding and really formulate an opinion. So this is definitely just a first look, first hands-on. So I'm going to go and collect my thoughts and share those with you in a moment. I've been taking a few notes on things. It is, of course, a pre-production camera, so there are a few things on here that I think are a little bit buggy, but will probably be fixed in the final release, or at least I hope so. Guess I need to hand this back in. There we go, thank you. All right, so that's the event done with Canon. I've now got to get a bus. I'm going to head into Central and sit in a cafe, collect my thoughts on the whole thing, and yeah, see what I'm thinking about this EOS R. Right, where's that bus? I hate getting buses, but it's kind of an awkward place. Got my notes. I couldn't do the talky thoughts and stuff in the cafe because when I got there, I realised it's actually really noisy and quite claustrophobic, so not a good idea. I'm now at my friend's place because we were popping around this evening. But anyway, let me run through my thoughts on the Canon EOS R. By the way, R stands for reimagined, apparently. That's some marketing spiel for you. So that means that the mount is the reimagined focus mount, I guess, because it's RF, and if EF was electronic focus, I guess that's what it means. I think EF meant that anyway. All right, so EOS R, what's it all about? The sort of general feel I got about the whole event today and what I can sort of like read between the lines on the camera is that what they're really celebrating, or what they're really sort of shouting about, is the mount itself rather than the camera. I think this is very much like more a statement about their intent with the lenses than it is with the camera. What they're trying to say is, here's what we're proposing with the lenses and the mounts and stuff, and the fact that you have special control rings on the lenses and all sorts, and the extra pins. You've now got 12 pins rather than 8 pins on the previous EF mount. So along with all the other camera companies, so along with Nikon and potentially Panasonic, we are getting another full frame mount within the space of a month. It's a busy time in the camera world. So yeah, with them talking a lot about the mount, that could potentially be them hiding away from some of the specs that maybe don't quite live up to what people want or expected. Name no names, high frame rate and 10-bit internal and other things, but you know, you can't have everything. So when first being given the camera, my immediate impression was how it felt in comparison to size with other cameras, but also other Canon cameras. It's been a while since I've actually shot with Canon now, and it felt good. It felt like a really nice camera, and no doubt it has Canon's impeccable weather sealing. So I think that's a great feature of it, but the actual size and functionality felt very comfortable. It felt like a great sort of system. The lenses are quite large, but I think the lenses are actually a great introductory setup. That 28-70 f2 is large because it's an f2. That's just how things go. That's how physics is. If you need to get a wider aperture on that size sensor, it's going to be large, but it felt like a premium lens. And what they've done is they've now added like this extra control ring to the front, and you can assign that to other things. You can assign it to, say, aperture, ISO, or maybe some new features that they're going to unlock with the camera with a firmware update. Who knows, but it's great that you have customization with that. Now I was looking at it from, I guess, predominantly a video perspective, and of course 4K. So in my previous video you would have just seen, which is all about this GH5 setup. I do have some requirements on what I look for in a camera. Now, similar to the 5D, they have cropped 4K. 1080 is still a full sensor readout. It's a shame they haven't done full frame. That's probably one of the biggest downsides, or at least give people the option to choose Super 35 or full frame when you're filming 4K. I know they're probably saying because the camera may overheat, but you know, I don't know. Sony have managed to do it to an extent. They've improved the overheating on their Mark III, so maybe in the future they will eventually do it. But it's nice at least that you can do C-Log internal and you can do C-Log external in 10-bit 422 to an external recorder. They've got some interesting additions to the lenses and the lens adapters. So it comes with a EF to RF lens adapter. That's great because anyone who's got a full collection of Canon lenses can immediately out of the box get set up with that. I like that. Not having to pay extra for an adapter, you know, that seems bad. So I'm glad that they're including that for free. How long that's going to last, I don't know, but that's great anyway. But they've also introduced these other adapters that have slot-ins for filters, and this is really interesting. So you can add a variable ND filter. Unfortunately, they didn't have any to look at today, but that is just very much tailored towards a filmmaker. If you can put a variable ND between the lens and the sensor, it's going to give a far better quality than if you were to do it on the front of the lens. And it's just tighter, it's more compact, it's just a very nice setup. So I like that, I appreciate that. So the camera, as I said, felt good, but there were some sort of things about it that just maybe weren't that comfortable. And that could either be put down to the fact that I haven't had too much time with it, so I only really got to use it for like an hour. But some elements of it just really felt missing. So one of the things that I love about Canon cameras or their DSLRs is that thumb wheel on the back. The ability to quickly set your aperture with your thumb wheel, your shutter speed with the finger wheel. It works. It's ergonomic. I still think I can use a Canon camera faster than any other camera. It just works well for me. They've now removed the thumb wheel on this camera, which I think is a huge downside. They've now got this weird sort of control bar thing at the top, which was sometimes responsive. You sort of had to unlock it and then use it. And then the dials on the top are all fully customizable, but just didn't feel as fast to use as a DSLR, which I think is a big shame because that's one of the biggest selling points to me with Canon cameras. Also, the top part of the camera, there's a few different buttons on there, but it felt quite minimal. Like it looks good and the design is nice, but in terms of usability, there was a lot that was sort of hidden in sub-menus within buttons. So you sort of have like you hold this and you spin a dial so that you can get between your ISO and your white balance and your different focusing modes, rather than having a separate ISO button, a white balance button and other things. And that just kind of created second steps to a lot of things that used to have just one step. And sometimes felt a little bit fiddly, especially because one of the top buttons, and there's not many on the top, but one of them is a lock button. So if you accidentally press that, you've locked all your controls, and then pressing any of the others, it's like, huh, what's going on here? So that is just kind of like a bit of a weird setup that I definitely picked up on. What else we get in here? One thing that was really like sorely missed was the inbuilt image stabilizer. So there's been a lot of controversy about this, that there's no IBIS in camera. If you're using the 24-105, that lens is stabilized, and I tried it and the stabilization is good. But having experienced the benefit of having lens stabilization and sensor stabilization working harmoniously together, it's hard to go back to not having that. And I tested some footage out using a 50mm, which has no image stabilization, so obviously there's no stabilization going on, coupled with the electronic stabilization in camera, and then trying the same setup but with the enhanced electronic stabilization. And you can see the enhancement is marginally better, but there's still some sort of wobble and jello effect going on there. It's not perfect, but it's an okay trade-off. Essentially, if you're going to be doing stabilization, you just need to add more weight behind the camera. You need to really consider your posture more, you know, as we used to do. But as I said, once you get into having IBIS, it's hard to look back. Of course, with it being a Canon camera though, the autofocus was impeccable, and they've now got, I think, 5,000 points, which was ridiculous. That is a ridiculous number of AF points. And yeah, it worked flawlessly in low light. We were in a pretty low and dimly lit environment. The footage from the GH5 was ridiculously dark, but I was able to get some with the Canon, obviously. So then just a final couple of points that I really liked about the camera. So the flip out screen, I have to say, is probably the best flip out screen I have ever actually seen in a camera. It felt so smooth, tactile, good quality, strong. It wasn't flimsy or anything like that. The touchscreen was immediately responsive, unlike what I've had with my Fujifilm and with Sony cameras that I've used with touchscreens. That is just covered. Canon just have that working, and I really like that, so that's great. I don't think it would necessarily suit me as a vlogging camera though. I would have to use an EFS lens of, say, a 10 to 18mm using the adapter because of that crop factor in 4K. Could be usable, but if I was after that hybrid camera that I've always been looking for, I don't like taking photos in 10 to 18, so I just can't win on that. But for a lot of people, I probably would recommend it as a vlogging camera. I just know for me and my preference and the focal lengths I like, there's no real super wide to long sort of lens at a quality I appreciate. But you know, that's my problem. I love that it has the same batteries as pretty much all other Canon cameras. So that's brilliant. If you know, you've got loads of batteries from previous cameras, they will work well. They are large, they have huge capacity, and they'll keep the camera going for quite a long time. And one final thing, now this is a big feature for me because I'm always looking to use a camera switching between photo and video, especially when it comes to considering new ones. If it can't do both, then I would want one side of it to be impeccably good. But this camera switches between photo and video extremely well. So when you set up your camera for presets for video, you know, if you're going to shoot in log, if you want to shoot in resolution of 4K or 1080, just set that as a preset and then put it into whatever photo mode you want to use, whatever shutter speed, whatever aperture. As soon as you press record, it will jump to that video preset. So you're not having to change your shutter speed and all your other things for video. You can just start recording, and I love that feature. That's what everyone wants in a hybrid camera, the ability to just flip and go, right, now we're doing video, this is what I'm using with this camera, oh, turn it off, now I want a photo, not having to faff around doing stuff. Fujifilm came close with, you know, just changing a couple of dials, but I feel this just goes one step further with having a dedicated film button. So I really like that. I commend them for that. So that is pretty much everything on my first thoughts and first look at the camera. I'm excited to see where the RF system is going to go. Maybe they're going to release a sports version. When's the Olympics? A year and a half away. So maybe they'll release a sports version like middle to late of next year or early 2020. I'm going to place my odds on the name of it being called an EOS XR. Or maybe an RX. I don't know. And I think they'll just go through the Mark 1 to naming convention afterwards. That's what I'm guessing. If you look through the promo photos, by the way, you know, where they're launching the first 4 lenses, have a look in the background. There's a silhouette of loads of lenses. So they've got a lot of plans. I think it's going to be an exciting development. I'm really looking forward to Photokina in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a lot of fun in Germany. And I'll be able to see all of these cameras, as well as some others that have been announced recently, such as the X-T3. Some rumors of some Panasonic stuff, and hopefully a new Sony camera as well, and I can see them all at once. In between all of this camera heavy content, there will be some other travel videos as well. So I'm going to Scotland in a couple of days, then we're going to New York, and we're going to be doing more of like the older style travel videos that I used to put on this channel. I really miss making those, and just kind of like throwing in the photography stuff in between those and within them as well. So there's a lot coming up. I'm really excited for the next few months. There's yeah, got loads and loads of plans. So if you aren't already subscribed to this channel, then make sure you do with the button down below, and click the bell icon. You get notified of new stuff. And I will catch you in the next video, which I think will be from Scotland. All right, thanks for watching everyone. See you later. Bye bye.